Now to the Middle East and the volatile situation unfolding there. Today, U.S. forces across the region came under militia fire after President Biden approved deadly strikes last night on an Iranian-backed group in Iraq. Courtney Kube has the late-breaking details tonight.
Tensions flaring in Iraq as the U.S. conducted precision airstrikes against 3 facilities used by Iranian-backed militias. The U.S. military saying they killed multiple fighters. Defense officials sending a clear message to militia groups and to Iran. The U.S. strikes in retaliation for an attack on Erbil Air Base in Iraq on Christmas Day. U.S. officials say militants launched an attack drone that struck the base, injuring 3 U.S. troops, one in critical but now stable condition and being transferred to Landstuhl. In a statement, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin said these precision strikes are a response to a series of attacks against U.S. personnel in Iraq and Syria. There have been at least 105 attacks against bases with Americans in Iraq and Syria over the past 2 months, causing minor injuries. These incidents have dramatically increased since the October 7th Hamas attack against Israel, rousing Iranian-backed militia groups throughout the region, including the Houthi rebels in Yemen who have assaulted commercial ships. Just today, U.S. forces shot down a dozen one-way attack drones, as well as ballistic and land attack cruise missiles fired by the Houthis in the Red Sea region, according to U.S. Central Command. While traveling in Israel last week, Secretary Austin warned of an expanding regional conflict.
Iran is raising tensions by continuing to support terrorist groups and militias. Attacks by these Iranian proxies threaten the region's citizens and risk a broader conflict.
Courtney joins us tonight live from the Pentagon, and there's a new warning from an international watchdog group about Iran's nuclear program.
Yeah, that's right, Tom. The International Atomic Energy Agency says Iran has sped up production of highly enriched uranium. Now, that's the material used to produce a nuclear bomb. Production slowed earlier this year while the U.S. and Iran negotiated the release of hostages.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.